We're back here on the Patrick Riggin Show. Jay, did you they W in on that last high note? Was that you?
Was most certainly not me.
First of all, you wouldn't be singing on that song. Second of all, you're a alto, not a soprano, right?
Exactly. You know, the saddest part is you were singing along to that song. I watched it.
Yeah. Oh, there's a part of me that likes that music.
I could just see you jamming down the road, windows down, just jamming out to Mariah Carey.
Oh, yeah. Okay, funny you should mention that. No lie. This is absolutely the truth. Come out of the Kroger yesterday, and here comes a kid in his little rice burner car, tinted windows down. No lie, he's playing ABC 123 by one that's Jackson's.
Yes.
Booming that out of the stereo.
The special bass mix.
Yes. And I thought, I would probably not be playing that if I was cruising.
It could be worse. I've heard some really bad things coming out of speakers just like that going around parking lots.
Well, I kept thinking, I keep thinking I hear that ABC one, and here he came driving by, just slow and leaning back and cruising. I thought,
hydraulics going up and down.
Yeah, exactly. I thought, all right, okay, whatever. All right. This segment, I want to get to something I've been trying to get to for a couple of weeks, and there's just so much going on. It's hard, and I actually don't have time to get to it this week. I had a lot of other stuff, but I'm just canning that, and I'm going to get to this because it's really important. A lot of people ask me, what can I do? What can we do against all this? Everything that's just coming out. A lot of people feel powerless against it, feel like there's whatever they do, nothing's working. Voting for these people, and it doesn't matter who we're sending up. They're screwing us over. No matter which party it is, which is another reason to send libertarians up, but that's something for another day. This segment, I want to introduce some of you, and I fear a lot of you, to the idea of something called nullification. And you might have heard it kicked around here or there, but nothing has really been talked about in length that I've seen in the media, mainly because they disagree with it at this point in time, because it is being used to nullify overbearing federal laws and regulations, something the news media thinks is a good thing, not the nullification, the federal laws and regulations. Now, nullification at the state level is what is happening when states pass laws stating they will not be complying with federal statutes such as banning marijuana or enforcing unconstitutional gun laws, things of that nature. States have been slowly coming around to putting a stop to all these federally mandated regulations and laws through various means of nullification, either directly through non-compliance with them or indirectly through non-enforcement. One of the state's duties to its citizens is to protect them from an intrusive and overbearing federal government. If the citizens of a state decide the federal government is overstepping its bounds, then they can decide to ignore it. Well, here's an excerpt from the Second Amendment Protection Act, which was signed into law in Kansas a few weeks ago. This was in response to all the gun regulations. It says, any act, law, treaty, order, rule, or regulation of the government of the United States which violates the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States is null, void, and unenforceable in the state of Kansas. Now, the law prohibits state and local agents in Kansas from participating in any federal gun control measures restricting the individual right to keep and bear arms as understood when Kansas became a state in 1861. It also makes it illegal for any federal agent to enforce any law, treaty, order, rule, or regulation regarding firearms that are manufactured, owned, and remain within Kansas, the borders of the state. Now, violators, the agents who violate that, could face felony charges, and the state prosecutors will serve federal agents with violating the law with a complaint and summons. So if the federal government tries to enforce any type of law or UN treaty regarding firearms that are created and stay entirely within the state of Kansas, the federal agents will be getting a summons. Now, there's been a whole lot of other states that did this too. I'm just picking out Kansas because I really like the language of their law. Now, this is exactly as it should be. And in fact, nowhere in the Constitution does the federal government have the authority to impose a federal gun law on the states or the citizens. They have the power to regulate interstate commerce, but in doing so, they are not allowed to violate or impinge on the rights guaranteed citizens in the Constitution. Now, James Madison, who the president recently quoted in his speech, we covered that on a show a couple of weeks ago when he erroneously referred to Mr. Madison as Jane Madison. If you want to hear that, you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Patrick Reagan Show. But back to my point. James Madison, he wrote, and I'm paraphrasing to shorten this up, should an unwarranted measure of the federal government be unpopular in particular states, the means of opposition to it are powerful and at hand. The disquietude of the people, their repugnance, and perhaps refusal to cooperate with officers of the Union, that being the federal government. The embarrassment created by legislative devices, which would often be added on such occasions, would oppose in any state very serious impediments. And where the sentiments of the several adjoining states happen to be in union, would present obstructions which the federal government would hardly be willing to encounter. In other words, if one state had a problem with the federal government, it can present some impediments to it, just as Kansas has done. If several states had the same problem, then they could present such an obstruction that the federal government would not be able to overcome it. And that's how it should be. In case you forgot or maybe didn't realize, or you might not have listened to this show before, the people came first, then the states, then the federal government. That's how the power is distributed. The people hold all the power, all of the freedom. The states are given some defined powers by the people, and even more limited and defined power is given to the federal government. Just read the 10th Amendment to the Constitution. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. What that does is put people at the top of that power structure, then the states, then the federal government. All right, is it already 15 till, Jay? Wow, I thought for a second my clock was wrong. We are already up on the last break here on the Patrick Reagan Show. I didn't get to half that nullification stuff, but we will work through it hopefully next show because I got some other stuff I want to talk about during this last segment regarding the organ transplant thing we had come up this week with Sebelius and the court. We'll hit that in a couple of minutes right after these messages.